Hello everybody, this is SuperFang99. Before we begin, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be notified when I post a new video. It really helps out the channel. With that out of the way, today, at long last, we are beginning my campaign run of the Scarlet Keys. Super excited. Whew, this is going to be a really interesting one. If you're curious, I just finished my run of Scarlet Keys with my friend group, and I want to do a run for this channel. Notably, there's going to be an emphasis on doing things that I didn't do in my original run. So, three of the scenarios that are going to be in this run, I hope, are going to be completely blind. So, if you're excited for that, go ahead and stick around. Without further ado, let's get into this. If you don't know what this is the latest Arkham Horror the card game campaign expansion, and yeah, we're going to be playing it with two of the investigators that came in the Scarlet Keys. And why don't we just jump in and introduce them to you? So we are starting with Kymani Jones. They are the security consultant with 3 willpower, 2 intellect, 2 combat, and 5 agility. As a free trigger, they can engage an exhausted enemy at their location, and as a reaction, when they attempt to evade an exhausted non-elite enemy, you can add your intellect to your skill value for this attempt. If you succeed by at least X, discard that enemy. X is that enemy's current remaining health. So basically, they can evade something twice while it's already exhausted, and just discard it instead of defeating it. We'll see how good this is. I do have some tech in case we need to deal with elite enemies. But yeah, they have 8 health and 6 sanity, and their deck building is Rogue 0 to 5 and Tools 0 to 4. Let's start off their deck. So, Kymani starts with 5 additional experience, and that 5 experience will be going into this Underworld Market and 1 upgrade on Honed Instinct. So Underworld Market is I need to get a deck of 10 illicit cards and separate them so that I have an extra kind of draw every turn by spending a resource. And Honed Instinct is a really good card. I'll get to it later, but more actions. So let's talk about this Underworld Market. In the Underworld Market, we have some 41 Derringers, some Mausers for weapons. Kymani isn't the best at dealing damage with weapons, but I'm hoping to eventually get Sharpshooter, which is a card from the Winifred Havemuck starter deck, to help with that. We also have 2 copies of Disguise, pretty solid evade asset. 2 copies of I'll Take That, which is a sort of weird economy card, and 2 copies of Pickpocketing, which I'm hoping to upgrade into the upgraded Pickpocketing as soon as I can. All right, so let's move on. Kymani, at least as far as I've seen them being played, really relies on taking lots of actions because they need to evade things twice. So we have a sort of action build going on with 2 copies of Leo DeLuca, 2 copies of that Honed Instinct card, and 2 copies of Quick Thinking. So Honed Instinct basically is just a fast. Whenever something happens, you get to take an action, and either the agenda actor advances or you succeed a skill test by 3 or more. But the upgrade that it took on its customizable sheet is Killer Instinct, which means that you can take an action when an enemy engages you, which actually should be pretty sick for Kymani. Next, we have a sort of event package for our damage output. We have Backstab, we have Sneak Attack, and we have Cheap Shot. All of them deal damage. All of them are pretty decent. Cheap Shot's going to be good because it can be the first evade that we do, and combine it with our attack value, have pretty high chances of succeeding. Next, I have 2 copies of Daring Maneuver, 2 Trench Coats, and 2 Manual Dexes to make sure that we pass those tests to discard the enemies. Daring Maneuver specifically basically will allow us to succeed by more in case we don't succeed by enough to discard the enemy based on their current health. So I hope that works out. We have some pretty standard card draw here. Lucky Cigarette Case. We have Nimbles for some movement tech. And then we have some pretty good economy. Kicking the Hornet's Nest is a pretty cool card. I'm excited to see it. Also, it kind of interacts really interestingly with a lot of the cards in this campaign because it spawns them engage with you, and that can override the concealed keyword if that happens. 2 copies of Sneak By for some more economy. 2 copies of Watch This, and 2 copies of Emergency Cash for some more economy. And of course, here are our signature cards. Alright, so that is Kymani's deck. Let us move on to our Kluver. Darrell Simmons. I've had a lot of fun with Darrell Simmons, mainly because he's just so freaking powerful. He's the photographer, 2 willpower, 5 intellect, 2 combat, 3 agility. You begin the game with Darrell's Kodak in play, which if you don't know, you can exhaust to put an evidence on an encounter card that enters play. And when you get clues at that encounter card's location, or if the encounter card is at no location, you can get that evidence onto the Kodak. And that's important because Darrell can spend evidence to reduce the skill test difficulty of skill tests. That's a weird way I say that. Darrell, of course, is our Survivor 5 Secret 2 Investigator, and he has that ruined film weakness. Hopefully shouldn't be too bad. Alright, let's get into it. So I'm going to be playing a difficulty 0 package with Darrell. So we have some old keyrings, we have some flashlights, and we have shed of lights to be able to take advantage of those difficulty 0 shrouds. Shed of light is so good. Oh my god. It's kind of busted. 2 copies of Empirical Hypothesis with no upgrades on it. That's just because Empirical is going to be a great way to generate evidence. By the way, if you're curious, if I don't say anything at the start of the round, it's always succeed by 3. Unless I say anything. It's always going to be that. 2 copies of Dr. Mylan Christopher, he's just a good ally. And 2 copies of Madglass, 2 copies of Deduction, and 2 copies of Perception for our Kluvering abilities. I'm also bringing a short supply because I'm doing some recursion tech, namely with Resourcefuls, hopefully being able to bring Shed of Lights back, Scavengings to be able to later bring old Keyring 3s back. I also have Schaffners, which we can also recur with Scavenging, and to be able to pay for a lot of the items that we're going to have to play. Then we move on to the good cards. Luckies, End of the Roads, and Shortcuts. Just good cards. End of the Road is going to be pretty sick in this campaign, I think. I also brought 2 copies of I've Got a Plan. I can imagine Kymani having some trouble actually dealing damage to enemies, especially elite ones. So I've Got a Plan should hopefully cover that. When we have a lot of clues, we'll be able to dump 4 damage into something, which is pretty cool. Alright, well, now that the decks have been introduced, I need to go generate their random basic weaknesses, so I will be right back. And we're back. I have counted, we have a total of 34 weaknesses that we can choose from. So I have my little randomizer here, and let's see what Kymani is getting. 31. So I believe that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is the same thing. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. They're getting the devil. That is a little unfortunate, but not the worst thing in the world. And now, Darrell has 1 less that they can choose from. So we have 33. So here we go. 33. Oh no. Oh god. Let me just check I did the math right. So that was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, skip, 31, 30, oh no, oh no, oh god, well, I guess it's happening. I did buy the Forgotten Age Investigator expansion. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. Oh boy. I'm going to go sleeve those up, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I had a bit of a thought, and I think actually Darrell should be fine. Um, Darrell doesn't really actually have that much card draw, and short supply could potentially discard it. So doomed. I mean, so I think we're just gonna go forward. I may regret this, but we'll have to make do. With that out of the way, we are ready to begin. I'm gonna go through a little bit of the setup before we get to the prologue. So let's get started. So here is our campaign guide, and we have a bunch of rules about keys. I'm not going to read these in detail, but effectively, keys are double-sided uh, cards that investigators, enemies, and story assets can take control of and or ownership of. And it has a good side and a bad side, and shifting it from its good side to its bad side is gets a benefit, and shifting it from its bad side to its good side has something bad happen. You can only shift a key once per round as an investigator. Enemies can shift their keys as often as they want, and when enemies shift their keys, it's always the bad thing, and it stays bad afterwards. That's basically the sum up of the rules on keys. If you want, you can read them in detail here, but I'm fairly certain that is all we need to know about them. And of course, this note about some card effects that just flip the keys, not counting as shifting them, that is also important. All right, so we also have a note that we cannot have the Red Glove Man in a deck, which is pretty cool. And then we have the concealed keyword, which again, I'm not going to go into too much detail since it's a pretty long rules explanation. But basically, concealed is a new keyword on enemies that when they enter or when they spawn, you instead spawn them in the shadows, take their mini card and a number of decoys equal to the X of concealed X, shuffle them, and then place them at the location in which they spawned as randomly as you can. Sorry, not at their location, but spread out among locations, starting with the location where they spawn. So if like it has concealed two and there's three locations at play, you put one where it is and then the other two on the other two locations. And concealed mini cards can be investigated, um, attacked or evaded. Actually, so specifically, they can be attacked or evaded. Or, as a successful result of investigating a location, you can, instead of getting a clue, expose them. Which, if it's a decoy, it just gets set aside. But if it's actually the enemy, then they come down from the shadows and actually enter play where the mini card was exposed. That's pretty much the sum up. Again, here's all the rules explanations and an example of them. And of course, we have the alert and patrol keywords. So we are playing standard difficulty, meaning that we have a +1, 2 zeros, 3 -1s, 2 -2s, a -3, a -4, 2 skulls, a tablet, and an elder thing, the auto fail, and the elder sign. And we're ready to go. I think I'm going to split this up into 2 videos, where in the next one, we will begin the prologue scenario. If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be notified when I post a new video. It really helps out the channel. This has been SuperFang99, signing off.